Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you're choosing to be with us this morning. I say us because I have a great interview with Ricky. What happened was we were talking about something on the phone or whatever, and he just lit up, and it's about quilting design. And I said, we got to do a live. So, of course, it's a pre record. I never trust it exactly live for obvious reasons. I think it's an excellent interview, which I'm very excited to share with you. And I have to laugh at this. I don't know. I think I'm up in the several hundreds. I don't know about you. How many is it going to take to make her happy? I don't know. Okay, so here's what's going on. I just want to, in case you hear noise and stuff, for those of you who are new here, I'm going through a kitchen reno. And I always, if you're new here, because some of you are asking, I always maybe spend a few minutes while everybody logs on, just kind of talking about what's going on and cool stuff I've seen. Okay, so last at the end of last week, the kitchen got the new cupboards, and they are gorgeous. In the olden days, if you look at the floor, you can see where there's a rectangle coming out from the far right. That was a counter before, and I chose to eliminate it to open up the place a little bit. The countertops are here today, and the fabrication guy is here today. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek of the countertop. Here we go. That's in my front yard. That's in my front yard. I am so excited. It's quartzite. Now, while that all looks glamorous and wonderful, um, this is the reality of the whole thing. Now, I have a question for you. Do those tulips class up the place a little bit? I'm just asking for a friend. Just asking for a friend. And whoever you are, if you celebrate Christmas, I can guarantee you your decorations are better than mine. Just saying. That's it. Crammed into a corner of the house. It's not going to be done by Christmas, so baby, that's it. I don't care. Actually, we're having a wonderful time hanging out in the living room. I got a fire, my kitchen's out in there, and it's not bad. Thank goodness we don't have kids at home. Okay, so I got this from Kate. I think she found it on a Facebook or something like that. Yet another thing to do with ties. Here's your Christmas apron. That is hilarious. And honestly, it doesn't look like that'd be that hard to do. Can you imagine if you came out in that? Yeah, perfect. Okay, then I always get myself in trouble when I bring up what I like and what I don't like. But yo-yos have never really held a soft part in my heart. And I know I've made yo-yos, maybe about 25, and then I threw in the towel. So when I think of yo-yo quilts, I think of this. And there's nothing wrong with this. It's just never struck me. Plus, struck my heart. Plus, they weigh about 10,000 pounds. Now, let me tell you something. I went on Pinterest this morning to look up yo-yo ideas, yo-yo quilt ideas, and now I'm kind of like going, whoa, I better get, I am humbled by what I saw on Pinterest. And I try and stay off of Pinterest because, well, it's a time suck. But I got sent this, and or I found it. It's the yo-yo installation in Asheville. And I'm sorry that I can't remember exactly how I found this. And I sure as heck am, if you sent it to me, say so right here. Go, I did it, I did it, I did it. So this is beautiful. I mean, this is absolutely beautiful. This is this is beautiful. I would hang this in my house. Another beautiful piece is on Margot's Facebook. And I believe when I was being a button geek, I might have shown you this already. But look at that. It's masterful, is what this is. Now, Margot didn't do it, but of course, Margot could do it because she can do anything. So if I'm wrong, Margot, please, please let me know. Okay, and then last but not least, I did get my silk quilt pulled together. And it's so amazing when you put a quilt on the wall. I was not liking this quilt very much at all. I've sewn it together, and now I don't know what to do about quilting, but I will tell you right now, this quilting is going to make or break this quilt. I'm hoping to make it like no tomorrow. I when I do a quilt, I just hang it on the wall over here and I live with it for a while and see how it speaks to me. Okay, speaking of quilting, here we are. Ricky and I have been in business since '07 at thequiltshow.com. If you're not a member, you really need to sign up. It's, $50 a year and you've got all these shows, inspiration, etc. But one of the joyous things about being involved with Ricky since '07 is both of us have changed. Our styles have changed. We've grown. We are not stuck in the mud. And I think that's the joy of quilting and why we don't get bored with it. So here we go. All right. I have this video. I think it's excellent. I would pass it to friends if anybody stumbles with quilting design well, Alex, be quiet. Let's just get on it, okay? Here we go. Ricky Timms, how are you?
I'm fine. It's snowing in Colorado today.
Oh, I won't even tease you with here. I won't even, it's just beautiful outside.
Well, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I would. I don't want it to be more beautiful. Like this is like a winter wonderland. I don't think I can see it out there in my window. It's too bright, but it's just like fairies coming down from the
How much do you
sky.
expect? Do they tell you that?
I don't think this is a big snow. I'm hoping it's not a big snow. I'm not
Well,
ready to start plowing yet.
yeah, right. No. So here's the deal, everybody. I have been watching Ricky really closely. I mean, obviously, since we've been working together in '07 and even before. And I think one of the things that you master so beautifully is quilting, the quilting design. And yet some things are kind of changing and you're not saying goodbye to anything. It's just you're expanding. Is that a way to say it?
Yeah, yeah. I'm, I don't want to be one of those people that you can't teach an old dog new tricks because you can, and I want to keep learning and growing, and this is a multi-year, I mean, many years desire to try to find a way to make it work, and we're talking about long arm quilting
Mhm.
because I've been a domestic sit down quilter and really people that don't know that about me, they look at my quilts oftentimes when we did seminars and they'll go, what long arm do you sew? And I
Yeah,
don't have a long arm.
they can't
And they're
believe
like,
it.
what?
They
Yeah,
can't
that,
believe
yeah.
it.
So I'm a domestic machine quilter who is now I'm no longer dipping my toes into the pool. I'm actually wading about knee deep. So I'm getting a little deeper into it right now.
Well, just in case somebody watching is not familiar with your work, I grabbed a couple images of your quilts that to me kind of explains how you quilt things, all right? So tell us about this one, Ricky. What's the story?
Okay, so this is Music of the Spheres. I made this during COVID. I do teach a class online called Locomotion, and this relates to that class, but that's a side note. But the thing is that I wanted it to be kind of a sampler of a lot of quilting patterns and designs, and I wanted the quilting to be as kind of explosive and exciting as all those swoops and swirls in the quilt. So this is about 52, 54 inches squarish.
Let's take a look at it. Now, this is all domestic, right? I don't want to
Yeah,
say
this is
something wrong.
Nope, this is all quilted on sit down domestic Bernina sewing machine. This was quilted on a 780. So, yep.
And I want to say, it might even be this quilt. It might even be this quilt. This was quilted on, hold on, when we only had
Uh,
like that kind of a bed, right?
oh yeah, 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 yeah. So you can go to that quilt. That's Simple Gifts. This is my first large machine quilted quilt. I did it on a Thoth. It was back in those days. The opening might have been 7, maybe 8 inches if I'm lucky on that little guy.
Right.
And not only did this quilt get chosen as the 101st best quilt of the 20th century, which I will brag, but it won. It was my first. It won best machine quilting at the National Quilting Association, which is no longer. But I was a baby quilter. So quilting has been my thing. I love the quilting part of doing the quilts as much as everything else. Some
Let's
people just want to push that aside.
No, I think it is equally as important as whatever the pieced unit is, which is why I'm loving what we're doing here today. Look at that, everybody.
So yeah, those little spiny feathers, those were done in 3 passes. So I had one color of thread for the outside pass, then I did it again and did a little inside pass with a different color, and then a third pass with a third color. And then you can barely see it, but it's the butterfly on the left, kind of center left.
Oh
There's a kind of
yeah.
butterfly. Yeah. So I have 12 little butterflies that are floating around in the quilt.
So hey, what did
Oh,
that
by
ribbon
the
feel?
way, that wouldn't get sneezed at with competition today as far as quilting. It is over the top from what it was in 1996, because
Oh,
that
I
was
think that that's true.
1996.
Honestly, I think that's true. I see things down. I'm just going. My brain can't even take it in. It's just too much. Okay. Oh wait, how did it feel to get that ribbon?
Oh, it's first of all, you don't go out there expecting a ribbon. You can never do that. You can only hope. But mostly, I do want to share my quilts. So putting them in a show is a great way to share them. And anything over and above, that's always frosting on the cake. So that's good.
Awesome. Now oops, sorry, you just made this. No, you made this for the quiltshow.com.
I made that probably 2017. That's my guess. We did a challenge with Meg Cox on Broadway themed quilts. And I think you did Wicked, she did
Hmm.
Into the Woods, and I did Hamilton. And this is called Hurricane because that relates to that story. And then there's a line in the musical that says, "In the eye of the hurricane, there's quiet for just a moment, a yellow sky." So that's where the inspiration for yellow came from. This also relates to the same style of piecing that I talked about in the Music of the Spheres. But yeah, it is a huge sampler of quilting. Can I tell the little secret that's in here?
Yes, I didn't know whether to bring it up or not.
Yeah. So there, the first one of the lines from the early part of the musical is in there, as well as the one I just mentioned. But the opening line, one of them says, "Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned. The man saw his future dripping down the drain." And I have that actually stitched in the quilt. You can kind of see it coming in from the upper left in that kind of darker orangey area, and then it gets smaller and smaller as it goes. But the funny thing is, I got it all quilted. I'm working on stitching the facing onto the back, and I look and I see that I misspelled hurricane. I left the E off the end, so it says, "Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned." And I probably could have gone back and picked things out and fixed it, but I didn't want to. To me, it was so wonderful that it's misspelled. It's like you can't do spell check when you're actually quilting words.
And you do quilt words in a lot. I just hey people, it even happens to trained professionals. You just
Truly. There, you know what? I'm going to also give you a little tip because people are going to go, how did you do that and make it fit? In that particular case, I used one of those blue wash away markers
yeah.
so I could just kind of write it in there. But there are other times on bigger quilts when I will actually I'll draw it on freezer paper and I will iron my freezer paper onto the quilt. So I just stitch around the freezer paper and pull it off. And if I'm going to have stipple, I stipple from one letter to the other, just stipple, because the rest of the stipple will then get lost with the stipple that I travel with. So I don't have a lot of start and stops.
That is a tip. That is a tip. Yes. So actually, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to show you the quilt that you were made from us. Tell us about your daddy.
All right. So, just for those that don't know, my dad was a quilter. A lot of people think I learned from my dad. Not true. My dad started quilting the same time I did. So he did not learn from me. When I say same time, it was the exact same week. We did not discuss this. I was going to make a Western shirt. He was going to do stained glass. And long story short, we both started making quilts. But he was a kind of grassroots rubber hits the road quilter. And the quilt that he's standing with there is one of the quilts that he made over and over. He first of all, once I started doing hand dyed fabric, he wouldn't even use commercial fabric. And it wasn't because it was mine, maybe a little bit, but it was because there was no right or wrong side. So he could never get a seam upside down. It was, both sides were good. But he made this block that's kind of Jacob's ladder. I don't know the name of it. We just call it Papa's Choice. But Alex, he made that quilt over and over and over, 6 blocks across, 6 blocks down. And I'm working on these quilts now on the long arm. We'll talk about that in a minute. But every time I have to go put a border on, I already know this is a 72-inch quilt. I need to cut a 72.5-inch border piece. Every one of them is the same, and his piecing is so accurate. I don't even measure the quilts. I know they're going to be 72 inches.
That's
So I
hilarious.
do my math based on that.
Now, sadly, your father passed with Alzheimer's, as mine, and this is a quilt that I think kind of puts all of your skill together with all the wonderful things you do.
This is called Faded Glory, and I made this for the Ami Sims Celebrity International Quilt Exchange. Not
Right.
exchange. It was for Alzheimer's and an auction. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. And I did, I think, 3 quilts for that. But this one was called Faded Glory. The colors are faded because his mind is faded. His memory is falling, and so you see the bright yellow petals are falling down, and only just a memory or a hint in the quilting. So the yellow petals are appliqued, but the other petals are just quilted. It's the quilting that makes them show up. And just a tribute quilt to him. And I'm glad that I could help raise money for a very good cause.
Now, right behind you, you have more of Papa. Is that his name?
Papa, yeah. So seriously, all right. This is why I have to get these done. He's been gone since 2015, and I'm looking at these pile of quilts and I'm going, there's no way I will have the time. And you guys, a quilt top does no good being a quilt top sitting in a drawer. You can't use it. It doesn't make, anything out of us. But look, again, this is a Papa's Choice quilt. No border, not quilted. This one, same thing, all right?
Was
Here's
he pretty?
another one.
Hey, Ricky, was he pretty exact? I mean, did they really turn out square and all that?
I'm telling you, they're 72 inches square, and I don't have to measure them. I know they're going. That's how perfect he was with his patchwork. Yeah, and here, look, I'm not done. They're just here. They come, and I've already got a pile of them that's quilted over across on the other side of the room, and this isn't all of them. So here's the funny thing. I tell people they ended up looking like Fruit Loops because all he would do was just use my colorful hand-dyed fabric willy-nilly, just no rhyme or reason. And he wasn't into color. He didn't care about color theory or if this matched. He just didn't care about that. So I got to the point where I was going to I'm going to help him with some color sense. So I would put 8 yards of coordinating fabrics in a grocery bag. And I would say, Dad, the next time you make a quilt top, just open up one of these bags and it will fit together and look different. So look now. So see all the ones I've shown you.
Yeah.
This one was mostly blue with a little bit of, green and purples, but this one's going to look different than all of the others because it came from a grocery bag. And you've got a quilt that we'll see in a moment that's red. That's the same thing.
Right here, baby, right here.
Yeah. So I just finished that one a couple of days ago. And so the reason that's more coordinated is because I just said only use the fabrics in the bed. That just use those fabrics. But Alex, this is a good learning lesson for all of us. That quilt block, which is a 16 patch with half square triangles on the diagonal, that's all it is. Sometimes the ladder, I'm going to call that straight line coming through the diagonal, the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he did that with light fabrics and sometimes he did that with dark fabrics. And I can guarantee you he wasn't paying attention. He just didn't
He just did
care.
it. That's what I was, yeah. So he did, there was no design wall.
No, but because it's so random like that, you still get this beautiful shimmer that's, it's kind of like I said, it's grassroots, it's from the gut, but it's just because repetition in art works, and he used repetition, and it's fabulous. I
I'm so glad I
love
knew
those.
him. I'm so glad. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Okay, so now the quilting. Now enter the long arm.
So my thing is, the first one that I did hand guided. Okay, actually, let me go back. The very first quilt I did for my great nephew, and I just did straight line kind of. We don't have channel lock, but I got a way to do perfect straight lines all the way across, and that was really fun and perfect for the quilt. So that was mindless. But then I wanted to do some free motion, and I did. But then I really wanted to get into digitizing. So I drew my design on freezer paper with pencil. That's just me. I like working with pencil and paper. It works well for
Mhm.
me. And this one, for example, this is the first one I did. I call it Fun Flowers or something. And so I just drew these little flowers and then echoed some little flame stitches and then another little flower. And it's just all nonstop stitching, and I knew this would be what we call edge to edge, but I wanted mine to tessellate. Sometimes an edge to edge is in a block. It has kind of hard edges and then goes to the next one, goes to the next one. This is also in a block, but they sort of tuck in and
I
tessellate
love
with each
that.
other
Yeah, I love
so
that.
that you don't see where the blocks are repeating as easily. And so I took a picture of the pencil drawing.
Hmm.
I took that into my laptop. I opened up Adobe Illustrator, which is a vector drawing program, and then I traced over that to the size. I mean, made it the exact size I wanted it to be, and then I saved that file, that Illustrator file, take it into the software for the machine, and then the machine will then stitch out. And I have my start point and end point so that they can just connect and go to the next design and connect and go to the
Are
next
you going to be
design.
selling these things?
I think so. I'm not yet, but soon.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm going
okay.
to start selling some digitized quilting designs.
And you and okay, if people don't know, you're on the Bernina long arm.
I'm on their Bernina Q24, which is the longest, biggest that they've got. I do not have their longest, biggest frame.
Uh-huh.
My studio is large, but I've got two sewing tables plus the long arm in here,
Yeah,
plus my
yeah.
music studio. So yeah, I just finished that one last week, Alex.
This is
I've done
Papa's,
two of
Papa's,
these.
right?
This is Dad's. Yeah, so he did two, one seam flying geese, and I know that's in like way back in series 2 or something, but they can find it. Ricky Tim's one seam flying geese on YouTube. That section is there. But
Everybody
Dad
loved it.
made he made two of these quilts like this, and I just finished this one a couple of days, maybe 3 days
Let me
ago, and hung it on my wall.
look at that, you
For me,
guys.
finished. For me, finished is it's quilted, it's bound, it has a label, and it has a sleeve. That's finished for me.
So Ricky, let's get a magazine, and this could be one of the styled shots.
Yeah, I love it. I
I
really do.
know. Okay, what do we have here? I can't remember. Oh, I
Oh yeah.
love this quilt. I
So
love this quilt.
if you're watching this right now, you are getting a premiere because I've not spoiled this one. People have seen me working on it. They knew it was going on the frame. But I do need to talk about that. First of all, it's my one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish quilt. And I wanted it to be very flowing and watery. And my vision for the quilting on this has been I wanted to have super long flowing lines that echo and repeat with themselves and undulate and swirl. And to do that on a domestic at the length, this quilt is probably 68 to 70 inches wide by maybe close to 80 tall. So this quilt is huge enough that doing it under the machine and getting a long flowing line to really flow all the way across that quilt would be next to impossible. I think it might be somewhat possible with a walking foot if the quilt is marked very well, but
Mhm.
even then, I think it would be a headache and I don't think I would get the impact. And I also would not be able to do this hand guided on a long arm. I would not be able to really get the flow that I wanted. So this is where my vision for doing digitized quilting becomes a real thing for quilters that allows us to do things we might not have been able to do otherwise. I think you've got a close up.
Yeah, so you're saying that this was digitized.
Yeah, so I took a picture of the quilt. I brought it into Illustrator, which is again a vector drawing program. I then drew all of these lines with the vector lines in that program to flow right over the top of the quilt where I wanted them to be. I put that picture, like if the quilt was 72 by 84, let's just say, I made that file 72 by 84 so I could draw these lines over the top of it. Now, the other thing is there's like 24 different quilt designs on this because as people know, there's only a portion of the frame that can get quilted. So I would have to do the top portion and then roll it a little bit so that the second design would fit into the first design and then roll it a little bit. So I had to do it in sections, but I've never seen anything quite like it.
Oh,
I'm
I
sure
haven't.
somebody,
And then
but I've
talk
never seen quilting like this.
talk about the bellies, because well, I looked at it and go, how do
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tell
yeah.
it needs more quilting?
Yeah, Ricky, something's wrong there. So I still am a domestic quilter, and there's things that I can do that I feel right now are more finesseful for me on a domestic than I can finessefully do on a long arm. So I've left these open areas. They're now coming over. They will be on the domestic. I will then move the quilt under the needle the old fashioned way with machine quilting, and I will have a combination of digitized machine quilting and domestic free motion quilting to finish out those areas. But I needed to do the body of it first.
Okay, so I want to say something. Both you and I are quilting snobs. I mean, we really are. We understand how important it is, and that's a lovely top. But that quilting just it
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 so here's the
is that.
Hugo is learning to quilt, and Hugo didn't know the word quilt till we met, right? And he's learning to quilt, and he's doing his thing as well. And I finished a quilt. Maybe it was exactly that one, the one fish two fish quilt. And he came in and he said, it really makes it so different. It's like it brings it to life. And that's how I feel about every quilt when it's quilted. It's just like this shell of a nothingness that's needing like the breath of God to come in and put in a soul or something. It's just quilting brings it to a whole nother glorious level. And I'm looking at all of these dad's quilt tops, and they're just kind of like these lifeless bags laying here. And then I finished doing the quilting on it, and I'm just like goosebump city over how beautiful it really
Yeah,
is.
yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
quilting
I
is a
agree.
huge thing.
So both of us are Bernina lovers, okay? And I have told people left and right, if they're thinking about getting a Bernina, email me and I will mail you $100 coupon that you will then send directly to Chicago and they will give you $100 off. Now, I know after this particular thing that we've done, I think people are going to be looking at the Bernina long arm very differently. And so
Well,
you make that offer.
and or this, they have the sit down
That's what I have.
machines
Yeah.
as well, which gives them a playground that's like nothing else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so being ambassadors for being as we are, because of this event, you guys, and this is a little plug, for Bernina, but also good for you. It is truly $100. You just need to email us. We need to date it for the event because you need to have the right dates, and you've got 30 days to get this in with your receipt. And I don't give you the $100. The
The dealer
shop you're
doesn't give you,
buying
it
it
has
from
nothing to do with
does
the
not give you
dealer.
$100. It comes from Bernina Corporate. It is a mail-in rebate card, but it's something that we have. So just reach out to me. You can do that at info@letsquilttogether.com. info@letsquilttogether.com, and there is no apostrophe in that let's. All right. So letsquilttogether.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you. This
I
is
on
super fun. I know
well,
people
we
are loving
this
this.
this happened because we were having a phone conversation and I was doing a huge happy dance over just the fact that I could make my own original designs. And get this, I know I had a lady on Facebook the other day. There's two of them. One that says you're cheating. Okay, whatever you want to say, I'm getting my dad's quilts done. And number two, another lady says, well, you're not quilting the quilt, the machine's quilting the quilt. I'm like, okay, well, you're not making the coffee, the machine's making the coffee. Hey, I made coffee this morning. I mean, it's just the way we work. We have technology. I think that there's a wonderful use of technology in this world. And for me, I would much rather cheating or letting the machine do it. I would rather have my dad's quilts used, loved, and beautiful than quilt tops laying in the drawers somewhere. So, however, I got to get there,
You're going to
I'm
do it.
celebrating it.
You're
I'm
going to.
going to make that happen. So,
Well,
yeah.
I can't wait to hear when you're done with your dad's, but I also want to see those fish bellies, okay? The faces. I want to see
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. I have to do the reveal. I'll
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah,
do the
yeah.
reveal eventually.
Okay, well, peace up, buddy.
Yeah, all right. Same to you.
Okay,
And you
but
guys, thank you for, I know, look at that. You see what I can do? Look, did you see this? Did you see
I
that,
see the
Lori?
heart. Yeah.
Watch this. Watch this. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One more. One more. One more.
Okay.
Thumbs up, everybody. Oh, no. We're going to do two more. Two more. Two thumbs up. Fireworks. You've got to get that technology, Alex.
I have things like applause.
Okay. There you go. All right. All right. Well,
See,
it's good
see
to
you later,
see
buddy.
you. And
Thank you.
all of you people out there, thanks for watching. And we hope that you keep your creative lives rich and full. And everything you're doing is worth every minute you're spending time doing it.
Amen, brother. I'm going to watch that again. I love that interview. I love that interview. So here's what you need to know about Wednesday. Also, don't forget about the cards. And I do believe you can take your Q20 and upgrade it to a frame if you'd like to. I'm putting it out there, but letsquilttogether.com is how you can get hold of Ricky. So, okay, Wednesday, we were at Houston and we got an interview with Lee McComas and her work. Well, let's take a look at her work. Her work is really quite fabulous, okay? And so, what you need to know about Lee is that she had a special exhibit at Houston entitled Women's Voices, Women's Votes, and Women's Rights. And Lilo got a interview with her, and I can't wait to share it with you. So I would really encourage to pass I'm going to talk about self-promoting here. I would encourage to pass this video around to friends because I think some of the things he said were transformation making. Like you don't have to do it all in the long arm. You can switch back and forth by machines and all that. So, okay, Black and Decker made my coffee this morning. Anyways, you guys, thanks for watching. I will see you on Wednesday, and I always appreciate you choosing to spend your time with me.